Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. This is CARPL's weekly webinar series, Unboxing AI, episode number 27. Today we have with us Dr. Lisa Sorger. Lisa has become a dear friend over the past few years, mentor, somebody we really, really look up to, draw a lot of inspiration from. Um, Lisa, for people who don't know, I'm just going to kind of shamelessly tell them what CARPL is. So bear with me. But so for those of you who don't know, CARPL is your friendly neighborhood AI platform. We help you navigate this complex, ecosystem of AI applications from all across the world. Today, there's hundreds of companies building AI systems, all of them trying to get themselves in the hands of someone like Lisa. But it's very difficult to first figure out where these applications exist, whether they even work or not. And then lastly, integrating them into your risk packs. So CARPL handles this end-to-end process. And in while doing that, brings you the ability to interact with some of our friends, collaborators, customers from across the world. Um, yes, Lisa, Dr. Lisa Sorger is one of probably the most influential radiologists in Australia. She's been a clinical leader of radiologists at one point in time, handling more than 350 radiologists at what is probably the third largest radiology group in Australia. She is, as if radiology was not enough, she's also a trained renal physician, a trained nephrologist who transitioned from that field to radiology. So yeah, I think radiology must have something really intriguing going on. And today focus mostly on leadership and medical administration. So Lisa, thank you so much for joining in today. It's truly an honor.
Thanks, Video. Thank you so much for your kind words. It's certainly an honor for me to be here today. I certainly have enjoyed getting to know yourself and the CARPL team over the last few years. You've got an amazing platform, wide range of algorithms, and I certainly learned a lot from you myself in the way you've put your platform together and in the way the algorithms themselves have been arranged, the mathematical coding and the sequencing of them. I learned, and I continue to learn a lot from that. I think
I'm
the
not
way
going to stop you, Lisa. You can, you can
okay.
just keep going.
I personally feel the way healthcare is going, it's the human AI convergence. That was the title of my one of my sessions that I chaired at the recent annual scientific meeting that I convened here in Perth a couple of weeks back. We had over over 1,300 delegates that converged in Perth, and we were discussing inclusion, diversity, leadership, and digital health and artificial intelligence. And radiology sits in a unique place in healthcare now as we are transforming, and it's where humans, the AI, and leadership intersect. I think this specialty and where we are positioning ourselves now is where we can really transform healthcare. We can help the people and patients that previously have not been able to access high-end or any type of imaging or healthcare, because we can now have reach into places geographically and socioeconomically that we didn't have before. And we can get enhanced quality from the most expensive resource, which is that's trained human. I think Dr. Nina Kotler is another one of my doyens that I look up to. What she's written recently about the enhanced detection rate from AI solutions. That's something I have looked at myself, how we can get more quality out of the time that radiologists spend looking at images.
No, I think Lisa, that's a great starting point. We talked about it. So, so for those of you who don't know, Lisa, at the conference, she convened, also ran a very interesting session where she asked the audience a bunch of uh, pretty controversial questions and got them to reply in real time, and she's graciously agreed to walk us through some of those findings right now. So Lisa, why don't you take us through, and everybody on the call, please feel free to ask questions. You can ask in the Q&A, you can ask in the chat, you can WhatsApp me, uh, whatever you'd like. But yeah, Lisa, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, okay. That's a good point to start. Yeah, so please, so it's basically the human AI convergence. On the stage, we had an ethicist, a lawyer, a psychologist, and two radiologists. Here are some of the questions that we went through. I'll just share screen.
Never mind. AI will fix this one day.
Is that presenting now?
Yes, we can see. Perfect.
So first question that we asked was, your partner presents with sudden onset neurology. Would you let AI read your partner's brain CT scan? And the audience said 2 would let AI read it alone, 5 not let AI read it, and 26 would let it be read with AI assistance. So I thought that was quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, I don't know, like the two people who would trust AI only, we need to find them.
Start and get them selling for you, do you reckon?
I didn't say it.
Why do you my thoughts on that are that if I'd asked this question, say 5 years ago, I reckon we would have simply had everyone saying no.
Yeah, 100%.
And now we have the majority of people saying they would have AI assistance. So that I think speaks to a real mind shift. I think there is a positive in that radiologists are accepting of the tools. There is, however, a negative predictive, like there's a false positive and a false negative rate in the tool.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that we had a psychologist on the panel is that I particularly wanted to raise the issue of automation bias.
Yeah.
And what that was, and to make sure that the radiologists on the panel in the audience understand that, as we do have a bias inbuilt in our brains, that when the AI tool shows it's positive, that's great. And if it's a true positive, that's good. This goes back to that old medical school conundrum. I might have to test you on that, Vidor, about the false positive, false negative, true positive, true negatives in your background prevalence of disease. But if it's a false negative and you think your brain is automatically thinking that that's correct, you don't read it properly, you'll then make a mistake. So it's really important, I think, that as clinical leaders, we think how we're going to prioritize our list management.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
let's see what else they said.
So how long do you think radiologists have left in their jobs? This was interesting. Our role will change, but we will always be needed.
Yeah, I think which is the general view we subscribe to, right? That obviously, like the way I look at this, Lisa, is that radiologists are kind of at the epitome of the cognitive pyramid, if we were to, have one. And if the job of a radiologist is fully replaced by machines. Like there would be so many other tasks done by so many other people in so many different domains that would also be replaced. So it's not just that you can look at this in isolation, right? Because it's not that you're just looking at an image and saying what's in it, right? There's a whole lot of medical science and being a doctor behind that goes into the answer that comes out on paper. So
Mm.
so I think, but then again, I think this will be another good thing to track over time, right? How people's perceptions change.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the collaborative piece, the communication, collaboration with patients, how we interface with our referring doctors, our patients, the wider healthcare system, that is where we'll see radiologists positioning ourselves. And I think that's where, again, that's why the leadership is needed.
Yep.
And I think that takes me back to what Geraldine McGinty said, I think maybe well over 10 years ago now in Imaging 3.0. I think if you go back and look on the ACR original lectures there, I think she said they wish to position radiologists at the nexus of the patient healthcare interaction. And, we have everything. We've got all the data. We have all the networks. The concept of integrated diagnostics, the EMR comes in, pathology, the histo, we've got the diagnostics. I mean, we're everything, Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay. Right. Next question that we asked was, what is your biggest fear in relation to artificial intelligence? So that was pretty interesting as well. Skynet. So
Becomes evil. So AI becomes evil.
yeah. What do you think of those, Vida?
I think,
Would you agree with those?
well, very, very difficult to disagree with any, right? Like it's because they're all, yeah, I'm just quickly reading them. I think maybe
Dumbing down.
unemployment is the only one I would kind of question.
Which was that?
It's unemployment. There's that
Mm,
in yellow, but it's good that uh they are all fears, but none of them are not addressable, right? Like except the Skynet bait, which is Skynet is basically like where AI takes over the world and kills everybody,
yeah.
Terminator kind of thing.
Mm,
Uh, I don't think I don't think radiologists have that much control over
yeah.
things. Maybe you can control the clinical outcome. Uh, but other than that, I think, these are just things that one has to be very, very aware of, right? Like practitioners need to be educated, you need to be aware of bias, you need to recognize your limitations. So I think overall a pretty informed group that you had there.
Yeah. I think the leaders in radiology need to make sure things like loss of connection,
Yeah.
education, performance anxiety, all those things, that's things that we need to make sure that we address those, very proactively amongst our people.
Yep.
Make sure they're being helped, look after our workforce, clinician well-being during these times. Psychological change management is really important.
I think a lot of this is also just suggesting that one needs to focus on educating people.
Mm.
Like a lot of these are also addressed by that. Cool.
The next one, yeah, this was interesting. The how much a patient would pay. I think in the States, people are paying for a second read on a mammogram now, I think about $200, $200 US.
Yeah, it's about $50.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But it's interesting that the group was so divided, right? But if you think of it, uh, three-fourths of the group believe that patients would pay something,
Mm,
right? So it's just 25% people who concluded that essentially AI is not worth paying for. So, so again, this would have been very different 5 years ago, where maybe there would have been a skew towards the left, uh, and not this, uniform kind of distribution.
yeah, I'll just put this somewhere else where you can still see the numbers. But I think that speaks to a wider issue of where does AI sit in the cost? Is it a system cost? Is it a departmental cost? Is it government funding? I think in the United States, people are tending it to be a hospital, academic hospitals or a practice cost. So it's more of a system cost. Whereas in other economies, depending on the type of economy you have, it's different. Is it a payer funded model or a patient funded model?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who is funding it in the UK or the EU.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question. We didn't actually get around to asking this, but it is interesting how we should be teaching AI amongst our trainees.
Not
There
an
was
easy question.
no. So there was a debate last RSNA, I think at one of the other breakfast meetings on this. So maybe we'll have some interesting discussion coming up
Yeah.
at the end of November, December in RSNA. I was interested to know what our doctors and delegates thought about what AI could do to drive radiologist compensation, rather thinking of it in a positive way rather than a negative way. And not just financial either. I think providing comfort, being that.
Verbal comfort. Wow, that is so
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Relax, you only have 70 more scans to do.
exactly. And
Wow, that
this,
is interesting. I didn't even think of it. Take care of all the mindless stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. And I think again, their RAD partners, I saw yesterday has made an announcement on what they're doing in terms of automating workflow and
Yeah.
actively doing a similar workflow efficiencies to allow the radiologist to concentrate on the high value end of the work,
Mm-hmm.
and getting automation and other assistance in to assist the radiologists. So really focusing there again, the high end, the highly paid radiologist job is utilized to drive where the most value is, and the low margin work is being driven by the automated by the machines. So I think that's another area where perhaps the AI could be used to list manage again and manage your list by exception, very much the same way as is happening in other industries, like your automated decision making in administrative law.
Mm.
Everything is being managed automatically, and only certain things are being come to the human. So it's being automated, except everything's being managed except by exception. Same as in insurances. So majority of insurance claims go through automatically. Only certain complex things are sent to the human. So it's called being managed by exception. So that's I think a similar way we should think about list management in radiology.
So, Lisa, I have a question here. Looking at this, uh, it's basically the interpretation that one piece of software or one tool can contribute to radiologist compensation in so many different ways,
Hmm.
right? Which is like in one way, maybe saying that a tool is different things to different people. Do you see that uh, anywhere? Do you see that with PACS, for example, or Do you see that with like dictation softwares or with wrist, like where the same software can be differently valuable to different people?
Well, yes, that's exactly right. So I was discussing with some PACS vendors on this exact point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some PACS vendors would benefit from utilizing some of these tools for list management and in a risk management way.
Hmm.
So we know, for example, that radiologists are better, they make less errors when they breast radiologists make less errors when they report in terms of breast density. So if you batch your mammograms,
Hmm.
fatty, breast A, B, C, D in order, you make less errors. So
Really?
what if
Okay.
we got an AI tool to manage the list rather than us sitting there and just, randomly doing them according to the appointment booking schedule or turnaround time or whatever? Wouldn't that be a good way to go about it?
Yeah,
And
that's
then you'd
pretty good.
reduce your clinical risk and you would make things more efficient.
Yeah, so you're saying batch memos on the basis of
Of
breast
density.
density leads to better quality and better
Yeah,
throughput
correct.
also, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's published literature on that. That the published literature is that we make less errors when we report
Hmm.
in terms of density.
Interesting. Pretty cool. No, that
And
I
that's
think
the way our brains work.
that's a good way
Yeah.
of thinking about it, right? Like the same tool. It's cool. Nice. Interesting. I didn't know.
But it all goes down to risk management.
Hmm.
So what we're all so I see my role as a medical administrator and as a leader is it's all risk management.
Hmm.
So if you take yourself as a PACS person, managing that list is about risk management.
Hmm.
So that's why that automation bias thing is quite important. So you take away the negatives, put them in a completely separate list so no one knows. So you take away the automation bias entirely. So you remove that risk.
Yeah. No, cool. I think Lisa, we've got a couple of questions that have just come
Oh,
in.
yeah.
Let's maybe go through them very quickly. I will take the third one first. This is from Hanushri. She is in my team. I think you've met her as well. She asks, I think this is based on the previous slide, the one where we were
Oh, yeah. I might go
patients
back to that.
paying, patients paying for AI.
Oh, yeah.
So she asked, do you think pricing of AI to patients will also depend on the output of the application? So, for example, how detailed an AI output is. Uh, for example, binary classification versus giving a region of interest versus prognostication tools, etc. So basically, like, the uh, how much the patient pays is dependent on what the AI shows.
Um,
I think yes, right? Like,
but it's possible. I mean, it's more like a supply demand thing, isn't it? It's
hmm,
market. It's an economic market. I mean, uh, I personally think a price depends on what a person is value is on it, really.
yeah,
If they feel that saying no, you don't have lung cancer on a chest X-ray is a valuable thing, then maybe big mining corporation or an employer will be more prepared to pay
hmm.
more for that. No answer then.
Yeah, it's so
Matter
interesting,
about the
Lisa,
actual
that a
output.
lot of lung cancer screening today is being driven by pharma companies, right?
Yep.
Because it's kind of like a win-win situation for everyone. Patients get screened for free. Pharma companies get to, commercialize their drugs,
Yep.
and everybody kind of wins. So, so yeah, so I think essentially, like, uh, patients will pay whatever is the value of the product to them,
Yep.
which is the cool framework to think. Next, we have a question from someone called AA. They ask, can LLM-based models, so large language models,
Yeah.
make the number of radiologists required at least much lower, if not completely redundant? If yes, then how do we prepare for this new normal?
I'm not sure it will take the radiologist away completely. So far, the demonstrations that I've seen of the large language models have not shown me that at all. The large language.
Elon Musk just tweeted yesterday about it, Lisa.
Oh, I saw that, and
Yeah.
I saw some of the what's his thing? Is it Grok or something that
Yes, yes.
yeah, I saw some of the answers that the people who were putting their pets and MR breasts up. I saw a lady has put up the MR breast and said it was hopeless. I saw some of those answers.
But
It's
Lisa,
certainly
honestly, the fact that we are even trying,
it's
right? Like,
foolish.
no, I don't know. I think you think of it 5 years down the line, like if it's crap today, like it'll be much lesser crap
Oh,
five
I'm
years
sure
down the line.
it may well get there, but I don't think it's going to remove the radiologist job
Oh yeah,
completely.
absolutely not.
You're
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to need people to be that interface piece.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And I did see a very interesting model called Hopper,
Yeah.
which took a report that was generated for a referring doctor and then re-engineered it for a layperson and then
Mhm.
re-engineered the report using a large language model, GPT version 4 of some type, and then made it readable for an 8-year-old. So that
Mhm.
was a very interesting
Mm.
demonstration that I saw. The actual computer vision AI component of that model didn't really work at the time, but I think this is very early. It's a B2B type of model, but I think that's the way forward. That's the next iteration, because at the moment the algorithms are looking at ground truth labeled um,
Yeah, data.
uh, data, which has already been labeled. And so you've got this problem with background prevalence of disease. But
Yep.
if we can now make an algorithm that makes an algorithm from our own clinic's data set in real time,
Mm.
and that's like training someone in real time, right? So that's going to go around the problem of background prevalence of disease.
Yeah. No, interesting. I think lots of thoughts. I think just moving on because we're almost at time.
Oh,
I think so. Bhanushree again asked a question, and AA also has a follow-up. So let's just go to Bhanushree's first. Do you think the demand and market creation for AI is also a function of PACS vendors' interest in AI? And do you think IntelliRad or other PACS vendors could drive this AI demand?
I think so. Yeah. I think it would be smart of them to, super
How?
smart of, because I think that, as I said before, the list management is where they could really they could drive huge efficiencies in list management.
Hmm. So you're saying if the PACS company started integrating AI into their packs and selling it as if it is part of the packs, that is a much more valuable.
And
Uh,
then swapping in and out. You could swap in and out of the packs.
yeah, yeah,
And and then they could swap in and out of the way the list is managed. So you could have a list of normals based on X algorithm.
yep.
And then you could have a list
Correct.
of
Yeah, yeah. We've been talking about this for so long, right?
SPA.
If it was
Yeah,
just there in the packs, it would just happen, right? We would not
correct.
need like
Yeah,
20 different
yeah,
integrations and all of that.
yeah.
Cool. And
Fatty breast, this breast, that breast, based on
yeah,
that. Yeah.
correct. And AA asks again as a follow-up, this is on the number of radiologists reducing or not. Will the number of radiologists required go down? Or will the scans get a lot more democratized? And
Yes.
thereby the market keeps expanding. Like as the so-called demand for a radiologist falls, the market expands and thereby the demand follows. Which is, and I
Well,
think a cool example of this, Lisa, could be the the lung cancer screening program,
yep.
which about which there's also an answer, so a question. So, if that happens.
I think that democratization, which is the beautiful thing, and I think you will get equity of access to people and patients that we haven't been able to access before, like what you and I were discussing prior to this, where we were talking about our First Nations people who have poor health outcomes now, but if you get the internet and the data out to those places geographically remote, you could get access to patients everywhere in the world. There's some really clever echo tech around that is screening patients for rheumatic valvular heart disease in Southeast Asia and in Africa. Chest x-rays, in patients where there are no radiologists could get reported. This is a fantastic opportunity that we have now to deliver healthcare to people who have never had access to high quality healthcare.
Yep. No, I think that kind of is a cool way to sum up today's session, where essentially AI takes the human limitation out of the equation, right? Like
Yeah.
you can now I always say this. I say there's so many more uh machines, like MRI machines, needed today than uh than what we have. And the challenge is not money. Like, the challenge is not the machines, because money can solve the machines. But where do you get the people to report those
Yeah.
scans, right? So if you solve the people problem, like if you can take Dr. Lisa Sorger to report 1,000 scans a day, it suddenly stops mattering.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's scalable.
yeah, correct. No, great. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. This was amazing, and thank you for agreeing to spend your time. And we'll see you at RSNA. And thank you to everybody for joining. This has been great, and thank you, Mentimeter, for having this product.
Yep. Lovely to chat. See
See you,
you
Lisa.
soon.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.